Yo, Exile, Augiesaint here, and welcome to the channel. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day and you're enjoying the new Path of Souls 2 experience brought to you by Get Good Gaming. If you aren't good enough, then you just need to get better, and that's where I come in with a warrior build for you guys that will carry through the story quite easily and straight into maps. We are stomping everything in the maps. We only just got to maps, and as you can see, we have no issues at all. Our AoE clear is pretty good. Our defense is really good. The only thing the build is kind of lacking at the moment is single target damage. We do have okay single target damage, but if there is like the biggest thing for me to improve, will definitely be the single target damage. I'll be working on that in the next few days, and I'll be keeping the build updated. This is just going to be like version 1 once we just got into maps like we have now. We're doing like T7 maps as we're working our way along. We do have enough damage in the build to go further. I just need to get a little bit more tankiness because my gear is absolutely terrible. For me, that's honestly the worst thing right now with the update. I don't mind the difficulty of the new update, but please just make the gear better. The drops that I get, I barely get any drops, and when I do get a drop, that's like never an upgrade or not even close to an upgrade. So I'm really struggling right now, having to farm up resources and then just, buy stuff with that to actually get upgrades. I have not found a single upgrade actually myself. There will be timestamps down below in the video if you do any specific part of the video. We will also have all of this written up on a mobilitics guide, which I'll also have linked down below in the description. And massive shout out to Augiesaint. This is based off of his leveling build. I have it linked in my actual build as well, and I have this link down below in the description. You can check it out. It's very informative, especially if you can go to like the earlier acts there, and you can see exactly what gems and support gems you need to pick up early with the early progression on the skill tree as well. So that is pretty much what I've been following all the way through the story, and that's what's got me through up until now when I have switched over to this version of mine. I think I'm going to drop Hammer of Gods and actually go with Sunder or maybe something like that. I'm just learning warrior as we go along, so that's why I say add this to your favorites, and then you'll get it updated as we go along. This will be version 1, and then when we do make more versions, I'll add them as like little drop downs as we go further and we evolve the build. So without further ado, let's hop in game and I'll show you guys how everything works. Now mainly we're going to be using Rolling Slam and Boneshatter to clear mobs, and Rolling Slam, how it works is it does 2 little hits like that. You can see that double hit, but what you can actually do is after the first hit you can cancel. You can start walking away immediately. You can like animation cancel with it. You can even use Boneshatter to animation cancel as well. So you hit that and then you hit Boneshatter right away. And the goal of the build is for your Rolling Slam to apply enough stun to the target that it actually procs your Boneshatter. As you can see, you proc that and the glowing circle shows up on them like the enemies in the background, and then you hit Boneshatter and then it's going to explode, and it's going to send like shockwaves and explosions to kill the packs, and that's what you're going to be using to clear the map pretty much. The Rolling Slam is just there to set them up for the Boneshatter, and then the Boneshatter goes ahead and explodes everything. Kind of similar to like an exploding palm monk back in the day on D3, one of my favorite classes to play. Just jump around and explode all packs all over the screen. So the AoE clear is really good. The tankiness is pretty decent as well. And then for our single target attack, we will be using Perfect Strike. You only really use this on like map bosses and maybe some elites if they are a bit chunky. You go ahead and you charge it up. Let's listen to it real quick. And hear that sound effect? That's like when it gets to the peak, the perfect hit zone. You want to release it on that right there. Release it, and that's going to do a big chunk. It's also going to do a lot of stun build up. When you do stun a boss or get pretty close to stunning it, you see the little glowing circle, you should hit Boneshatter because it's going to knock it down and do a fair amount of damage. Then you just go ahead and spam your Perfect Strike until he is dead. And then we do also have some buff with Infernal Warcry, and we do have Hammer of the Gods to help with the really chunky boys, which is mainly just going to be map bosses. So that's functionally how the build works. Now let's actually have a look at the skill gems. So Rolling Slam, like I explained to you guys, this is just to set up the stun. We are running Unbreakable so that we get stunned less while doing it. And then Martial Tempo to increase the speed. And then Brink is actually very important on Rolling Slam because you don't want your Rolling Slam to stun the enemies technically. You just want it to have the build up ready to be primed, or like you want it to prime so you can proc it with your Boneshatter. If you don't have Brink, then your Rolling Slam is actually going to stun the enemies, and then it will take away the opportunity for you to use Boneshatter. So that's why it's pretty important to use Brink. And then moving on, we have Boneshatter with Impact, Shockwave, Splinter, and Reach. Because mainly all of these are used to increase the damage and the AoE. And then just going back to Rolling Slam, something that really important that actually was happening to me is if you are killing enemies with Rolling Slam, you won't be able to proc the stun. So that's why I actually have mine at level 15. I had to go ahead and drop this gem down to level 10 gem. I do have +5 to all melee skills, which is quite high, and when my gem was at level 15, this level was actually at level 20, and my damage was like close to 10k. So I was actually killing enemies with the Rolling Slam, and then they wouldn't get primed, so I could use the Boneshatter. So that's actually hurting my DPS or my clear, so to say, because I just can't get the stun build up and I can't use Boneshatter. So something to keep in mind, if you're doing too much damage, Rolling Slam, drop down your skill level on the gem. And then the opposite does count as well. So if in one hit you're not priming the enemy, then you're not doing enough damage. So you want to do just want to get a nice little balance in that. Right now, like I said, we're on T7 maps and we have level 15 gem. Our weapon is pretty good, so you'll kind of just have to play around with it to see. Mainly it's just going to be the issue is if you're doing too much damage early on, because the build does do quite a bit of damage on the rolling slam. Even sometimes for like elites and bosses, I just use rolling slam. I don't even use perfect strike because usually it's enough to just wipe them out anyway. But just a little caveat to remember, if you are stuck and you can't actually get everything to get primed properly for your Boneshatter, go ahead and check your rolling slam out. Either needs to do less damage or needs to do more damage. And then moving on to Infernal Cry, we are running Premeditation and Enrage Warcry. It's just a nice little battle cry you can do when you have a big pack of mobs, especially the elites. You go ahead and drop that, you'll do increased damage to them, you get Empower on your next attack. So essentially you want to do your mace attack first, so that primes all the enemies around you. And then you would Warcry, and then you hit Boneshatter and everything will just explode, including the elites. It's very useful as well when you get the bosses, especially map bosses. That's like the most time I ever use it. And then moving on to Perfect Strike, we are running Fire Infusion, Window of Opportunity to make the perfect timing window a little bit easier, and Close Combat to just increase the damage. Like I said before, this is only really used on very chunky elites and map bosses. Just charge it up, wait for the thing, and smack, and you'll do a ton of damage to the bosses. And then Shield Charge, this is our mobility skill. We're just running Ingenuity to make the cooldown a little bit shorter. You don't have to do that, but it's a nice little skill. You could also use Leap Slam instead. And Leap Slam also does able your Boneshatter to get procced off the enemy, so you could actually use that as a whole different playstyle, but it is less control of your character because you'll be jumping around into the middle of the pack, so it is a little bit more scary, especially early on when you don't have your defenses and everything maxed out. Like when your gear's not quite there yet, I wouldn't recommend it, but maybe in a future update to this build, we will probably just be using Leap Slam or maybe even Stampede to just charge through mobs and rip their armor off and Boneshatter and explode everything. And then we're using Scavenge Plating. This is pretty much just going to scavenge the armor of the enemy. So when we're breaking enemy's armor, we'll get it and it'll stack up to 10 times. Give us a bit of Thorns as well. So it just adds to our survivability with armor and then Thorns as well. Running Persistence to increase how long the stacks stay up. We're running Cannibalism and Vitality to help with life regen and life on kill. So whenever we kill a mob, it's just going to instantly restore us to full health. Really nice and just really good for surviving. Then we're using Time and Need. I actually just have Time and Need turned off right now because every time it procs, it makes a little sound effect. So while I'm trying to record the video, it kept going on and off. So that's why it doesn't do it. There you go. There it is right there. So that makes that every 10 seconds. That's just going to give you a nice little heal. You can see that recovers 344 life and removes curses and elemental ailments. So if you get slowed or stunned or chaos or burning or whatever, it's a nice little way just again for survivability, and it only costs 30 spirit, so it's nice to just have it along. And then we're running fast forward on there for the skill effect duration to be decreased so that we can actually get it to pop up more often, because you can see there 10.6 seconds duration between blessings. So by reducing the duration, it's going to reduce the duration between blessings, so how often it actually goes ahead and procs. And then lastly, we are running Hammer of the Gods. You can see this is our big chunky boy. This is what we mainly use for elites that survive the Boneshatter AoE, as well as for map bosses. We're running Lacerate for bleeding, and then we're running Heavy Swing for increased physical damage, and Fist of War to give us an ancestral boost to this every 6 seconds. That just adds more damage and AoE to it. That is it for the skill gems. Now let's actually go ahead and look at the passive tree. And then as your first ascension, when you are going through the story, I would recommend picking up the melee damage and Against the Anvil. These as your first 2 ascensions, just to give you a nice little increased boost in damage while you are going through the story. Then once you get to mapping and you actually have another ascension, I can actually go do one right now, but I'm still just waiting a little bit to get more power before I go pick up 2 more nodes, and I'll probably put them down below. But once you get the mapping, then you can switch this out, and I highly recommend going for the Fire Rays over there and then picking up Coal Stoker and the other Fire Rays node there, because what this Coal Stoker does is it pretty much takes your Fire Rays and gives you half of that to your Cold and Lightning. So right off, like just the ascension there from the Fire Rays over there, 15%, 15%, both of those put together is 30% Fire Rays already, and 15% Cold and Lightning. So it makes it super easy to go ahead and cap your elements by picking this up. And then with our last node for now, we're just going to use the Smith's Masterwork because I wanted to gain the 20% strength. Only reason I wanted to get the strength up high is because you need a boatload of strength in the build to go ahead and use Giant's Blood. And what this does, it lets you use a 2-wielded axe, mace, or sword in one hand, so you can use a shield in your offhand as well, but then it triples the attribute requirement for your weapon. If we go have a look at my weapon right now, this weapon requires 522 strength to be equipped, so that's why you need a ton of strength. You can have a look at our chest piece there. It's literally only giving us 20% increased strength. So I've only really just switched this now, but earlier on, you don't need to use the smithing Kitava thingy right away. That's why I don't recommend picking this up right away until you are ready to actually get that much, or until you need that much strength for like a better upgraded weapon. Otherwise, I'll take this point and then I'll put it back into the melee damage. So really, really early maps, I would go Fire Rays, Coal Stoker, Fire Rays, and then melee damage. And then I might actually play around with one of these reses. Maybe I just go ahead and pick up fire res because it's going to give me 75%, so it's going to cap out my fire res. And then it's also going to overflow into the other two reses, and that's going to make it super easy to actually go ahead and gear. Otherwise, I might play around with some other things on the other parts. Yeah, I have written in the written version what's actually the best ones to go ahead and select. But for me, those three are the most important. The Kitava engraving for max life, support straps for the strength, and then the leather bindings for the maximum life per second. Because 5% of your max life, you see we already have 2.4k life. Since we are stacking strength, we'll be getting a ton of life. I think we'll probably end up with like 4.5k life once we get some better gear. And then we also get some more levels to build out the tree. So having a look at the tree now, pretty basic stuff. We're just picking up as much strength, AoE, armor from body, and then we're increasing AoEs over there. Attack speed, skill speed, and we're just picking up block chance, and then we come down below for some more attack speed. The reason we need so much attack speed, or try to get as much attack speed as possible, is because of this node right here, singular purpose, giving you reduced attack speed. And I believe there is another node somewhere else that we're also using that gives us, yeah, right there with their crushing verdict, also gives you reduced attack speed, but 50% increased damage and stun buildup. So it's a massive amount of damage you're gaining. So that's why it's pretty important to try and get some attack speed like that over there, skill speed. And this, you want to max out this whole node over here, mass hysteria for increased attack speed all over the place. And then later on, I think I actually want to work my way down the tree here and come to glancing blows. Block chance is doubled, and you take 50% of damage from your blocked hits. So it'll just be a massive gain to your defense, because right now, like I said, our damage is actually pretty good. I think we just need to work on our toughness. So for now, this is what we're running with the tree: as much damage, armor, strength, AoE. Over here, we just have a ton of strength in this whole node over there as well. And the reason, like I said before, for all this strength is mainly for this giant's blood over here. Don't pick this up until you have enough strength to actually use your two-hander. Otherwise, there's no point in picking this. I think I picked this up once I started Cruel. So we just finished Act 3 and we started Act 1 Cruel. So it was around like level 50-ish is when I did eventually go ahead and pick up giant's blood, because by then I had enough strength to actually go ahead and use it. And right now I'm trying to get all of this elemental res. Yeah, this will increase your maximum cold, fire, and lightning res. And over there, we can go ahead and just get 5% increase more res to everything, and also increase the max. And then with our smithing tree, we can also go ahead and increase the maximum over there. That's what I do plan on adding to that later as well. So I'll update this in the future moving forward. That's why you should totally check out the Mobilitics build. I will be updating that one as we go ahead. Now let's actually have a look at our gear. The main thing is going to be your weapon for your damage. You want to get increased physical damage, so the percentage. You also want to get flat added to physical, so you can see the 21 to 37 physical damage. And then the increased attack speed is pretty important as well, since we do have those nodes reducing our attack speed. So you really feel it if you don't have attack speed on your weapon. And then also levels of melee skills. Now the +5 is a little bit overkill right now, but it is what I have ended up with. I actually bought this, I think it was about 35 exalt, so pretty expensive. So that's essentially the main thing you want to look out for, is the physical damages with the attack speed and the level 2 melee skills. So other than the weapon, the next important thing would probably be gloves. You want to try and get some flat physical on here, although it's definitely not needed. As you can see, we do have quite a lot of flat damages on here. We have cold, lightning, and physical, so that is giving us a ton of damage. We do have a lot of strength, and that's another main thing you want to keep a lookout for, is get as much strength on all your gear as possible. You see we've got 29 strength there, 31 strength. These I do need to upgrade. They do have nice movement speed, but just keep in mind to try and get as much strength on your gear as possible. You pretty much really need to get strength on every piece, because here we basically have strength on every piece except I think our rings. Okay, that ring has strength. Our neck has strength and all attributes. Our boots have like low strength. So pretty much just our boots that need more strength, and our ring, and you can see we're at 548 strength, and we'll probably need even more strength for one of the higher up tier weapons later on, because this is only 522 strength right now, and it's a level 67 weapon. I believe the highest bases go up to like 79 or 80, somewhere around there. So it's going to probably need like 600 something strength to get a better weapon than this. So that's why it's really important to try and get as much strength on all your gear as possible. And then fire res is another really important thing, because that's going to help you cap out your reses. You see, I don't have any chaos right now. So essentially you want to like overstack fire res and then get your chaos res to cap. But my fire, as you can see, it's at 112 right now. And then my lightning res is pretty much getting capped through my fire. I don't think I have any other lightning res anywhere else. Maybe just this ring, I think, has a little bit of lightning res. There's fire res over there, fire res over there. There's no res there, so those boots can become quite better. Fire res, cold res on the ring. Yeah, that's the lightning, cold, and then the helmet has cold res on there, also a small little amount. So you see our gear is far from optimal, but for now it is getting the job done. So just a quick little overview again. For weapon, you want to get physical flat, physical percentage, increase attack speed, melee skills, most important. I do have this all written up in the Mobilitics guide, so go check that out. For gloves, you can get a little bit of added damage, like flat damage. You don't need it, but you can get it. And then main stat, and then for everything else, you want to get strength as much as you can. Just cap out your stats. boots, you want to make sure you do have at least 20% movement speed on them. With anything less than 20, it just feels really bad. 30% or 35% ideally, but anything over 20% I would say is doable. Then on your shield, as high block chance as you can, and increased armor and strength again. And then for the rest of the gear, on the rings you can get a little bit of flat damage. You see we have lightning damage over there, and we do have physical on the rings, but don't worry too much about all the damage. You mainly just want to stay alive. The build scales really well with like how Boneshatter and Rolling Slam work together, so really just focus on capping out your defenses, your reses, your HP, so you can actually survive to get through everything. And then later on we'll figure out a better way to actually go ahead and increase our single target damage for like map bosses. But for now, I think everything works really well. And then maybe in the next day or two we'll have an updated version of us blasting through T15 maps. That's going to be it for this video. I know it's a pretty lengthy one. I do like to make these thorough, so definitely check out the timestamps down below if you wanted to go anywhere specific. Well, you've made it this far into the video, so thank you so much for watching. Hopefully it helped you out, and if it did, please drop a like and a sub to the channel. It helps me out so much, and I'll catch you beautiful exiles in the next one. Augiesaint out.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the